So, what's the target price of Northern Trust Corporation in your company's opinion?
Our target price is $123.
Mm-hmm. And may I ask, like, how does this price come from? Like, what's your evaluation?
Yes, our evaluation process is use fundamental analysis to create a return on tangible common equity.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
that's
mm-hmm.
the judge of profitability that we look at, and then we take that and then equate that through a valuation model that we have to multiply that valuation by the tangible common equity or tangible book value per share of the company.
Mm-hmm.
So we have our earnings model that basically builds out the profitability from the bottom up. That gives us a return on tangible common equity. Once we get the return, we have a model that looks historically and says this return on tangible common equity should give you, this price to tangible book value per share, and then that gives us our target price.
Okay, and so what do you think, like, why do you think will take this stock to move upward in the future? What are the major factors that are driving this moving direction?
Right. So currently the stock trades at around $104.
Yes.
So we're looking at about a $20 increase in stock price, which comes from really two things. One is they have growth in tangible book value, so their growth, tangible book value per share is going to grow about 6 to 7%. So that gives you about $6 of that increase. And then the other $14 come from the ability for them to do two things to improve their returns. One is to benefit from higher interest rates, and the other is to continue to gain market share in their core business of providing custody for asset managers across the world.
About the increase in interest rate, do you mean the rate that has already been increased, or is the future expectation of increase in interest rate?
I would say it's about half already accomplished with them just rolling up to current rates, and the other half related to future increases that we expect.
And by this future, like, what is the time range you mean? Is it 1 year or like 24 months?
12 months.
12 months. Okay. And for the expansion of the asset management, how do you come out with this conclusion? Do you think the expansion of the company's asset management business is going to expand a lot in the following year?
I think that will be some incremental growth, but the custody business is really what drives the bottom line along with the net interest income. So the asset management part of the business is an ancillary revenue stream, but not a primary driver of the profitability.
So you mean the prominent driver is the custody management?
Yes, and net interest income.
Okay. So what are the major outside factors that are influencing the corporation's stock performance?
Say that again?
The major outside external factors impacting the
higher interest rates, and again, assets under management across the globe. So continued growth in assets under management as they custody those, help service the firms that manage those assets.
What about the domestic and global economic? I mean, apart from the growing interest rate, are there any other factors? Or like trend in the
No,
finance industry?
that's the primary thing that affects them.
Okay. And how will the equity market affect the benefits? I mean, affect the performance? Like, for
How
example,
will they'll look at the performance in a sense of what their returns do. So can they improve returns? Can they grow EPS? And then what kind of volatility do they have in their overall earning stream? So one of the things that helps the trust banks, or at least has in the past, is that they've had a more stable earnings base. So they haven't been impacted by credit or swings in the economy like other financial institutions can.
but are there any weakness of the company that you think may drag its performance in the future?
Its biggest risk is the need to continue to invest in technology, because custody business is a real technology, requires a lot of incremental investment to keep up with the world and regulation and everything else that's going out there that's changing so rapidly.
So you mean this company
being able to control expenses is the biggest challenge or risk that they have.
So do you think the corporation has done enough with embracing the technology or not?
They have. They have been investing and doing a good job of kind of balancing out, being profitable while still investing in, building their systems.
Yeah. So why do you think it's the biggest risk for them to cannot keep up with the technology improvement? You mean?
Because that's you can't fall behind. If you do, then you really are risking your core business and customers. So it's a requirement that you have to be good. You have to pick the right things. If somehow you invest in the wrong pieces of the puzzle, then you can have to do some catch up or change paths, and that can be very costly. So that's why it's one of the bigger risks.
Okay. And about the recent updates on the federal court rule on the fiduciary rule, do you think that the future of this rule may have any impact on the corporation's future stock performance?
Not yet. It hasn't disrupted it. One of the other things that's really happening is, the evolution of blockchain and what could eventually become instantaneous trading. So, if you're custodying and you're having to do all the record keeping, and then all of a sudden blockchain makes record keeping instantaneous and already done, then all of a sudden the need for what they do would be lessened. So, that's really more of a risk than what we're seeing on the regulatory front right now.
So have you already incorporated this risk into the target price that you come up with?
Not yet, in the sense that it still is in development stage, so it's far enough away that we'll have to kind of make sure and see how it evolves. And the trust banks are very involved with how it's developing and being able to utilize it. So it's a risk. It's something to consider, but it's not anything we have to physically put in our target price right now.
Okay. And in terms of the corporate's current franchises and its sources of revenues, like what section do you think are performing well and what are not as satisfactory?
Okay, say that again?
Just in terms of the corporation's current services, like franchises, what do you think are performing well and what are unsatisfactory?
Generally, they're performing well. The benefit they're getting as rates go higher is nice, but the one complaint that I've had is that they created more earnings volatility by being too short in their securities portfolio, which, as interest rates dropped so quickly, that hurt their earnings. There's no need for them to be that short. They should extend out and add some duration, which would help stabilize their earnings if ever we went back into the very low interest rate environment. So that's really the only one that I've had much of a complaint about. They are improving efficiencies in their core business, but when you look at it, they actually spend more money than they make in revenues in custody business. So it's a very tough business to be in. Like I said, it requires a lot of expenses, and they've been reducing those expenses, so they've been getting much more efficient. But they still have some room to go in that efficiency front as well. So that's the other piece of the puzzle that they would still need to improve in.
Okay, so do you think the company is now trading at a fair price?
I think it's undervalued at this point, and that there is around 20% upside from where we sit today. So that typically is a little bit bigger, which means that the market's not giving them as much credit for being able to benefit from the uptick in interest rates.
So what is the rate that your firm gives for the company?
We have a market outperform on Northern Trust. So we think the upside potential is better than the general market S&P 500.
Okay. And how financially healthy do you think the company is?
No, they're very safe and a low risk profile. So it's a well-run bank and has good growth opportunities. So that's a good combination.
Okay, thank you. And now is the final question. So the corporation acquired the UBS Asset Management Fund Administration units in Switzerland and Luxembourg. Like, what kind of influence do you think this acquisition has on its current and future performance? And do you think it's likely to make any further acquisition within the next 12 to 24 months?
Wow, okay. We're going to say that one again.
Really? So, I mean, the acquisition of the UBS asset management unit.
Yes, right.
And what kind of influence do you think that has on the future?
Again, I think I look at their asset management business as really being secondary to custody and net interest income. So those are the two things that I think are most important. Now, they are adding things around that, and this UBS Asset Management Group was just that. It was a way to expand what they're doing in asset management, have more offering to their customers. So I think it has an incremental positive effect, but I think it's modest.
Okay. And do you think the company is going to make any further acquisition in the following 1 or 2 years?
They will. They'll find ways to either fill in geographic areas where they can buy some custody relationships from other folks that are in the business but yet don't have the scale that they have. So they'll look for that. They'll also look for, I think ancillary, like you mentioned here, the asset management businesses where they can add some products or specialties that they think their customers would like to, for them to get offered.
Okay, thank you so much. Do you have like a report that you wrote after its last earnings release that you?
We do, yes.
Can you send me that? Just as a reference to your interview.
Yeah, thank you. Send me an email. Let's see here. Okay. Have you already sent me an email by chance?
Yes, I had. I had sent you one email this morning. Okay, so I will send you another email for this. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. And then I'll attach the most recent earnings note and send it back to you tonight.
Okay. Thank you so much. It's really helpful.
Nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you, and have a good night. Thank you.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.